at-home school program, the spider program that I'm working with, we had them do their field trip here on Tuesday. So 21 kids through the studio, along with maybe a dozen or more parents, the 2 teachers. That was a very hectic day, but it was a very rewarding day. If you're a smith or an artist of some type, creator, I would strongly suggest to get involved with an at-home schooling program. They're always looking for people to come in and help with their kids. And the group I was working with are preschoolers through grade 3, and then a group, that's the first group, and then the second group was grade 3, I believe, through grade 6. Amazing, very engaging, so much fun, so rewarding. I would do it again in a heartbeat. I was used to be involved in things like that back when I was living in Calgary. Didn't really get involved in that when we moved out here. This was the first year that I've taken a stab at it, and I'm just blown away by it. It was just absolutely great. Now, we had to do a lot of workarounds and things to get ready for it. The studio isn't exactly big enough to squeeze that many kids in, so that was why we were racing so hard to get the annex done. And yeah, we got it done. It's quite remarkable. We're only at stage 1 with it right now. We got a lot of other work we'd like to do with it, but coming outside now, it's kind of inspiring. Actually, it's amazing. But she's up. Things are placed relatively. We've got stuff to think about. I was originally going to wall in the entire back, but we've got it in now with just the tarps hanging down right now just to sort of keep the weather out. And we really like it because when the weather's nice, like it's trying to be right now, we can pull the tarps. I'm thinking of putting rods all the way around so that I can close it off with canvas tarpaulins when it's not in use, or when the weather's a little bit inclement, or when it's hot and sticky, we can open it right up and let the sun right through. So, playing with the idea. Who knows? We'll see. So, but things are placed. We got things cleaned up. We got a whole lot of kids running around. Oh, and did we ever have rain? Rain. I've never had to struggle that much with water while doing a build. It was quite an experience. So, but the kids we were working with on the Tuesday, we were primarily focusing on the jewelry end of what I do. So we were going to do a little bit of pewter casting. It was a pewter casting demonstration. So I'm going to be videoing that later, just so people know what it was I was up to. We were using the soapstone, which is right. Oh, I'm going to have to move my thumb around here so you can actually see. I'll take you down here to look. So yeah, so what we got here are the soapstone molds that I was using. We're just using a 2-part mold. We're demonstrating also, how the modern molds work, and how they're the same and how they're different. Talked a little bit about chasing and repoussé, which is what we've got over in here, so we talked a little bit about that. We also talked a lot about recycling, reusing, and repurposing, which is kind of the message at Ironwulf. It's like, think about, as I've said before, think about what it is we're throwing out, why we're throwing it out. If I can create art out of other people's cast-offs, then who knows what we can possibly do, right? The studio looks good. We also talked about what life as a living history smith is about. As I say in the class, we can't just run out and buy a lot of this stuff. Some of it you can. That is one of the benefits of the fact that the living history movement has moved on from what it was when I first started. You can go online now. You can find a lot of this stuff, but still, handmade here, people wanting stuff particularly designed for them, something that's unique. That's what a smith does, and that is what we talked about. We also talked about what a smith did in history. Who was a smith? What were they called upon to do, and why were they necessary? So it was really, really cool. The kids were amazing. And the one thing I will always say about the children I tend to run into in the at-home school program is they're engaged from the get-go. As soon as you sit down with them, as soon as you start talking to them, they're talking to you. Whereas, you know, sometimes in a school setting, like a traditional school setting, you're trying really hard to reach out and get them to get out of their cocoon, get out of over that barrier that seems to exist. We don't know why that's there, but I've always found it's there. So, but from now on, we're going to be shooting at least one video a week, which is, again, going back to the how-tos and the actual techniques that I use to produce some of the stuff I do. I know a lot of you have been waiting for that, and so we're going to get to it. We're also going to continue doing the life in the studio videos. That should be a lot of fun. I have been enjoying doing those. I mean, everything from building the shed to, building the forge annex shed. Yeah, well, technically it's a shed. To just the thought processes that go behind what we do. So, that's it for this segment. We'll be doing more a little later. Hopefully we'll get a video out this weekend. If we don't get a video out this weekend, we will try to get one out early in the week. And that means, again, it's going to be a 2-video week because, well, once again, I'm behind. Take care, guys. Cheers. Hey, gang. Well, as promised, we're going to try to do a bit of a how-to or what I do kind of thing video today. Basically, just a simple bit of pewter casting. So what we're using here is soapstone. Those of you who are a little bit familiar with it will understand that for the most part, most of us see today is something used for carving. This is just simple. This is not one of mine, but it's something I will repurpose and reuse. This is what we traditionally think of soapstone for, carving. It's a beautiful material, has a very sort of soft feel to it. Couple of properties of it: it retains heat really well, resists fracturing under stress of temperature. It carves easily using simple tools, dental tools, screwdrivers, just about anything you can imagine, just a knife. Even a fingernail can carve into it. If I scratch into this one a little bit, you can see that. So today what I'm going to be doing is just a simple 2-part mold. I've got a couple that are already made here. Normally when I buy my soapstone, it comes in a block. It comes in squares and chunks and pieces. This was part of a piece that was about $17, so that's why I kind of look for you know, stuff I can repurpose. It just it saves us a couple of dollars. So the tools I'm using today, really quite simple. I've got my handy dandy old Coleman stove here, gas. It's nice because I can control the temperature evenly. When it's off kind of thing, right? I've got a little pickup in, I think it was a Salvation Army, a little nice round pot for heating up my pewter in. You'll notice I got a couple of pieces of soapstone over here already warming up, and that's primarily for the reason that when the stone is warm, the metal tends to flow in it more easily. It doesn't freeze up too salty and get plugged up, so it makes for better casting. The other tools I have, pretty simple. Clamp for holding the halves together. I have, you know, lighter, and then basically a couple of other little handy dandy things here. This is for cutting off my sprues once I finish pouring, and this is for cutting up my pewter. So again, you'll notice that rather than using an ingot or something, I tend to go to Salvation Army, the Restores, the, you know, every place you can think of, Value Village, and I buy up these garage sales. Anything from 50 cents to $1.50. I think my most expensive one here is about $3. Again, saves a little bit of money. The pewter in it, providing you make sure it's pewter, it's good stuff, it's great material. Cracked the glass on the bottom, I shouldn't have done that, but that's okay. I will be very careful not to get that out into my table. I tend to cut it up, chop it up into pieces, using my snips. That open. I mean, the pewter is pretty lightweight material, it cuts pretty fast. I'll break that up. I've got a bit of a symbol in here, so I'm going to get rid of that, make sure the glue is off, collapse it all. Into the pot it goes. And 2, 3, 1, gone. So now these guys, the other thing I'll have is, because the stone does get warm, I do have a set of gloves. But to start with, should be okay. It's not too hot. Oh, it's nice temperature actually. So I'm going to grab that, grab my other one. Alright. So they're ready to go right there. Now what I'm going to be casting is a simple two-part, just a little medallion. This is one here. This was made by my lady. It's just a W, which is part of her persona name when she's playing in the living history group that she's part of. And so a couple of other examples. Here's one that's got two sides. On one side we can see there's a little bear paw. Right? On the other side you can see there was the relief of a tree. Okay. Another one we have here, which is a flat mold. Again, see the detail on the surface. This is pewter. On the back you can see that it was just poured in flat. It's not a true two-sider. So by two-side, two-face, two-part, what I'm talking about basically is I've got a side which has my relief in it. In this case that's my wolf paw. And then on the back side it's just flat. Now you can see there's a bunch of scribed lines in there. That's to allow the air to escape when I pour the pewter into the mold. It has a couple of pins in it, as you can see here, pinholes. These are the receivers, and that's to keep my mold together when I've got it. Now when I'm using it, I'm not going to just set it on the table and pour, because what will happen is if I do that, the pewter will probably just the weight of the metal, just push it apart. So with the hot mold that I've got here ready to go, I'm going to get him up there, get him ready. Take my clamp, clamp it into place, make sure he's even on the floor, on the tabletop. Move these guys out of my way so that I've got a little to play with, a little room. I'm going to grab my pewter here, nice and hot. An even pour, and that's it. Now, what I'm going to watch for, I don't know if you can see this, but if I move that, you can see it jiggling a little bit, and it's very shiny. What I'm waiting for is for it to freeze. You can see it now, it's going dull, 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 done. Nice and dull all the way through. Now if I poke that with my stick here, you can see it's solid. I'm going to give it a couple more seconds just to make sure it's gone all the way through. What I like to do with my students at this point too is when they're in the room and I'm using the molds and I'm just heating them up, I'll sit there and say, so who believes that the first cast worked? Everybody hold up your hand. Okay? And then hands down, who doesn't think so? Right? Because sometimes when the stone is too cold, like this is right now, what will happen is I'll pour that in, the metal will hit there, sprue won't be quite big enough, it won't be feeding in at the right speed, the metal will freeze up before it has a chance to fill the entire mold. So we're going to pop this one apart to see where we're at. It looks like we have a good mold. Hot metal. Move that off to the side. And there we have it. I'm going to flip him up here. He's a little bit warm. One totally and finished, completed Flying W. So I'm going to make a few more, and that's it for that part of it. Take care, guys. Cheers.